Hey, welcome guys back to the Mavri channel. This is Mavri here with episode 9 of Id Invaded. So, as we continue on with our current arc where we have to go deeper, right, in true Inception fashion, we've got Narhisagi, as well as Fukada, and also Hondo Machi, all entering another layer of the subconsciousness of Momoki, right? With that being said, I am really interested to see if they are going to be completely reset once they enter into yet another layer, or they are actually going to retain their memories of their current personas, right? So that's definitely something there, and how exactly this is going to affect the final story. So originally I thought Momoki was innocent. He was being framed, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. But at the same time, after the events of last episode and everything that went along with it, I do think that Momoki probably knows a bit more than he's letting on. And even though I still don't believe he's the actual culprit behind all of these serial murders and whatnot, like it's definitely, I'm like 99.9% sure he's not John Walker. With that being said, I don't think he might be entirely innocent of any, let's say, questionable things either, right? Particularly something to do with this mysterious lady called Asukai, who really literally appeared out of nowhere. I do hate it when these sort of detective stories and whatnot use this kind of plot device to introduce the criminal. And don't get me wrong, we're not entirely sure if she is a criminal or not, right? But I'm just saying that she seems to be featured very prominently right now, and we still don't know anything about her yet. And so hopefully we will learn more about her in this episode. Alright, so we started with the opening this time, so I skipped it, and let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, wait, this is Narahisago. Huh. Is this the trap that Momoki was talking about? Okay, so this is quite different. Somehow I don't think he's going to. Yeah. I am surprised that Narisago is able to take this in stride so well. Oh. Is this the day that she was killed by the Challenger? there's more monkey. What is this going to accomplish? So he still wants to come in and shoot him. By Asukai? Yeah, he didn't do that yet. It should be Asukai in his arena right now, right? Ew. What's he trying to do here? Ouch. I really have no idea. I guess this is his way of exacting revenge. Asukai, right? Wait, so he's still in the... Huh. Hmm. Because, because he got beaten up this time, I guess maybe they might even write it off as self-defense? What? But wouldn't that mean the challenger would have... Oh, Referator. Right. Oh, the face. Yeah, you got to at least be normal for this part. It's kind of important that you get to the bottom of things. Yeah, because he got beaten up as well. Oh, so doing this again? But they're currently in the Idwell of Momoki. I mean, he is. Like, every night? Wait, so is she actually Joan Walker? She's projecting her dreams into reality? Or was John. Okay. Okay, John Walker. Huh. Probably they should investigate the makers of the Idwell, whatever it's called. What the? そ that's what happened after he was killed. 'If only it was that easy. Oh man, he really did kill him. Wow. He does have the makings of a serial killer in him, right? Damn, that was a lot to take in. Alright, see you guys after this. Alrighty, so we got a ton of information in this episode. Let's start out by some, I guess, not stuff that's not directly related with the main mystery, I guess you could say, and that is the aftermath of what happened after Narihisako's daughter was killed. Right, we see that first of all, she was killed by the challenger, beaten to death, basically, in a very gruesome fashion. And her mother, Narihisako's wife, probably couldn't take it, couldn't bear the image of seeing her daughter being beaten up like that, and decided to commit suicide, right? And then Narihisako, upon learning of this, having his daughter and his wife basically be dead, he finally snapped and then decided to put a bullet through the head of the challenger, right? And as we can see here, he said he was racing against time because he was racing against the SWAT team. So this leads me to believe that actually, if given the chance, he would have done what he did in the opening or the first half of this episode, which is also sort of challenge him to a duel, but then in the end, basically with the aim of inflicting as much pain as he could upon the challenger, in order to relieve some of his own fury and anger and so on and so forth, right? And so that is why we see the first half that we see here with Narihisako challenging the challenger. Although in this case, I would kind of argue that that's kind of playing into the challenger's hand, because if this situation is to be believed, his motives are to be believed, then the challenger is actually as much of a masochist as he is a sadist, right? Because he also wants to be hit and gets joy out of it, basically. So, maybe the best idea was to actually lock him up and let him rot away. But that the past is in the past, right? This is, after all, just a fictional dream world. With that aside, so let's talk a little bit about the perceived notion of how these serial killers came to be, right? And I say perceived because there is still some funny stuff about this situation. So on the surface level, it seems to kind of make sense, right? So there's this weird girl Asukai who has this weird abilities to project her feelings and emotions into others. And she also has this weird condition where in her dreams other people can also enter into her dream, or she pulls others into her dream, and then there she can be killed repeatedly, right? And apparently John Walker was one of the first in her, and then gradually all the other serials came to be as well. So you can think of it as a sort of incubation grounds for serial killers. So those who have maybe some kind of twisted or perverted sense of joy and satisfaction by inflicting hurt and pain and death upon others, they can sort of live out their fantasies here in the dream, and then gradually it becomes less and less able to satisfy them. They start to crave for the real thing, and so that's how they eventually graduate from this, if you will, and then do the acts in the real world. That is how you get in, how you turn them into a serial killer, right? So it kind of makes sense on that aspect. I could totally see this as a sort of the more you do this, the more you grow desensitized to it, and the more that you want to search for higher and higher joy and satisfaction. And so that's how in the end you resort. It's like a slippery slope, right? So first of all, you think, hey, doing this is kind of harmless, it's only in the dreams, it's fiction, yada yada yada, and then gradually it turns to the point where you do kill your first victim in the real world, and then once you already did the first one, you might as well go all the way, right? And so that's how they become serial killers. Now the thing here that I find kind of funny, and so I'm not entirely, so first of all, I'm not entirely convinced by this theory and by what Asukai is saying, right? Because number one, in the later serial killers that we see, including the ones that we have seen until now, like Perforator, the Pyrotechnic, the guy who, I kind of forgot what the nickname was for the guy who buried girls underneath in barrels and suffocated them to death. We had Narihisago dive into the id wells of these people, and they've never shown any kind of memory in their subconscious or whatnot of Asukai, right? You would think that if this was such a prominent figure in helping them eventually becoming serial killers, then there would be traces of Asukai everywhere within their subconscious and conscious and memories and so on and so forth, right? So there's definitely something fishy about this entire situation. So that's one thing. The second thing is, we still have to go back to the last episode where Momoki was crying out, hey, don't go in, this is a trap you must extract immediately, right? So how exactly can this be a trap? Well, applying the theory that I just said, how, by gradually killing, you grow desensitized to all of this and eventually don't really care anymore, you've changed fundamentally in your own character. Well, think about it as this. As we can see here, Narisago is really not, he's not hesitant to kill anymore, right? Like, I mean, sure, I think maybe in part he's thinking this is just a fictional world, but at the same time, isn't that the same logic and reasoning as that of a dream world? So here, he's already, well, I guess his condition is a little bit unusual as well, because he has already killed in the real world numerous times, not only the challenger, but he's driven to suicide a few of the other serial killers as well. What I'm saying is, here he's completely disregarding normal procedure for police work and whatnot, and he's just going around and dishing out his own brand of justice and killing these criminals, right? Now, you could argue that this is maybe deserved for them, but at the same time, he's still doing it in cold blood, right? He's going there with the intent to kill. He's not, it's sort of like an inhibitor on him has already been released, and he's just going by his raw emotions and desires now. His id, right? Going back to the title of this series. So I do wonder if the trap here is that he's going to come out fundamentally a changed man, right? Someone who really gives no shits about killing anyone anymore. Although, again, like I said, the reason why I don't think this is completely the case either is because Narihisago has already killed in the real life, in the real world here, so how much you can really call this a trap, I'm not really sure here. But yeah, definitely, this is definitely something to be suspicious of. I mean, it's obviously not going the this is happy memory, so I don't want to leave kind of road. I thought it was going to be some of that cliche, he's going to wake up and not really remember anything in regards to the past 8 episodes, right? In terms of reality, he's just gonna wake up and then go back to his normal life. Hey, he's got his wife, he's got his daughter, he's still a respected member of the police force, yada yada yada. And then eventually he's going to figure out, hey, no, wait, something's weird here. This is actually fiction. This is a dream. This is not real. So on and so forth, right? Again, sort of, I guess, Inception-esque, as well as being used by lots of other fiction as well. But that's not the case here. So the trap lies somewhere else. Now, where exactly it does, I don't really know, but I do think that it has, going by the title of this series, it should be something that's going to affect his subconscious, and so it's going to affect him at the very end once he eventually comes out of this entire situation. At least that's my theory about this at this point. So, there we go. That's it for this episode of It Invaded. I will see you guys next week as well as we start to wrap this up to a close. Asukai Kiki, I don't know. I don't think I can really 100% trust you right now, even though you do look like Kaoru, which in of itself is also another very, very interesting kind of development, considering that, Momoki knew who Asukai Kiki was, right? He knows her. He knows what she looks like, and so he never made the comment that Kaoru looks exactly like her. So that's why, I don't know. There's definitely something funny about this entire situation. So I'm not entirely convinced that what we're seeing here is actually the truth. So, anyways, the next few episodes will prove me wrong. So let's just meet again in the next one. Until then, bye bye.